Florence, 1898. A 17-year-old boy stands at the threshold of his father's failed hat shop, watching creditors strip away the last remnants of his family's dignity. Guccio Gucci, born into what locals whispered was once a noble lineage from the San Miniato district, knew nothing but poverty and shame. His father Gabriello's straw hat business had crumbled under the weight of debt, leaving the family fractured and desperate. The young Guccio made a decision that would echo through generations. He left Florence in anger and defiance, turning his back on his father's failures and setting his sights on the glittering capitals of Europe. First Paris, then London, where empires were built on ambition and the wealthy flaunted their privilege like badges of honor. At the Savoy Hotel in London, one of the most exclusive establishments in the world, Guccio found work as a porter. Day after day, he hauled leather luggage up marble staircases for aristocrats and industrialists. His hands grew calloused from the weight of their trunks, each one stamped with crests and monograms that spoke of heritage and permanence. The rich surrounded him with their casual conversations about yachts and estates, their wives dripping in jewels, their children educated at the finest schools. But Guccio was watching, learning, absorbing every detail of quality and craftsmanship. He studied the grain of the leather, the precision of the stitching, the way certain materials caught the light. He understood, perhaps better than anyone, that luxury was not just about wealth, it was about identity. It was armor. It was the difference between being someone and being no one. After 4 years of this education, Guccio returned to Florence. He married Ida Calvelli, whose father owned a tailor shop, and together they began to build something from nothing. In 1921, at the age of 40, Guccio opened his first shop on Via della Vigna Nuova. He sold imported leather luggage at first, but soon established his own workshop, hiring local Florentine craftsmen who understood leather the way musicians understand notes. The early years were brutal. Debt collectors circled like vultures. Guccio took loans from family members, mortgaged everything he owned, and worked 18-hour days. But he had something his father never possessed: vision. He understood that the Italian aristocracy and the emerging wealthy class wanted quality that rivaled anything from Paris or London, but with that unmistakable Italian soul. Guccio and Ida had 6 children, 5 sons and a daughter, Aldo, Vasco, Rodolfo, Enzo, Grimalda and Ugo, who was Ida's son from a previous relationship and whom Guccio adopted. The boys were brought into the business young, trained in the art of leather selection and customer service. Guccio ran his household and his workshop like a general commanding troops. He was distant, authoritarian, demanding perfection. Love was conditional, approval had to be earned, but beneath the surface, tensions were already brewing. The sons had their own ideas about the business. They saw possibilities their father couldn't imagine. While Guccio focused on maintaining the small shop's reputation among Florence's elite, Aldo dreamed of empire. He wanted stores in Rome, Milan, New York, Paris. He wanted Gucci to be a name that resonated around the world. Guccio dismissed these dreams as reckless. He had clawed his way out of poverty and wasn't about to risk everything on grand ambitions, but the sons were planning, waiting. 2 weeks before Guccio died in 1953, Aldo, Vasco, and Rodolfo made their move. They agreed to open a boutique in New York City, circumventing their father's conservative approach. When Guccio learned of this, he was furious, but by then it was too late. His heart, weakened by years of stress and hard work, gave out. The old man died believing he had built something modest but respectable. He had no idea his sons were about to transform his leather shop into a global phenomenon that would define luxury for generations. After Guccio's death, the business passed to his 3 surviving sons, Aldo, Vasco, and Rodolfo. But there was something conspicuously absent in the will. Grimalda, the only daughter, received nothing. This was Guccio's iron rule, a decree he had established from the beginning. Women would not own any part of Gucci. The male line was sacred, absolute. Grimalda was devastated. She had worked in the business, understood it as well as her brothers, but her father's antiquated views barred her from any inheritance. When she challenged this in Italian courts, her brothers united against her. The judges sided with tradition. Grimalda was left empty-handed, forced to watch her brothers build an empire on the foundation she had helped create. This casual cruelty toward women would become a pattern in the Gucci family, a virus passed from generation to generation. The men controlled everything: wealth, power, the family name, while the women were accessories, ornaments to be displayed and discarded when convenient. Aldo became the driving force of the new Gucci empire. Charismatic, ruthless and brilliant, he understood branding before marketing textbooks codified the term. He created myths about the family, claiming the Guccis were descended from noble saddlemakers who had crafted leather goods for medieval courts. It was pure fiction. His father had worked as a dishwasher and porter, and there's no evidence the Savoy Hotel ever employed him. But the story was irresistible, and the wealthy loved believing they were buying from aristocratic artisans. The New York store opened at the end of 1953 and became an instant sensation among Hollywood celebrities. Grace Kelly, Audrey Hepburn, Elizabeth Taylor, they all became devoted customers. The bamboo-handled bag, launched in 1947, became iconic. The Gucci loafer, with its distinctive horsebit detail, introduced in 1952, was worn by everyone who mattered. Aldo moved his family to Rome in the late 1940s and commissioned a grand villa in the affluent Camilluccia neighborhood. Completed in 1951, the estate was a statement of arrival. Spread across 2.5 acres just 10 minutes from Rome's historic center, the main villa blended English and Tuscan architectural influences, a nod to Aldo's wife Olwen Price, who was from the United Kingdom. With 15 bedrooms, 20 bathrooms and nearly 20,000 square feet of living space, it was designed to host lavish parties where Aldo could network with politicians, aristocrats and movie stars. A second villa was added in the 1960s, creating a compound that screamed wealth and permanence. The properties were surrounded by manicured English lawns, swimming pools that sparkled under the Roman sun, and gardens that required a staff of groundskeepers. This was the Gucci dynasty at its height, a family that had gone from bankruptcy to breathtaking opulence in just one generation. But beneath the glamour, the family was fracturing. Aldo had 3 sons, Giorgio, Paolo, and Roberto, and he ruled them with the same iron fist his father had used. Giorgio was sent to manage the Rome store and showed talent for design, creating pieces worn by celebrities. Paolo, born in 1931, was more volatile, outspoken, and desperate for recognition. Roberto was quieter, less interested in the spotlight. Meanwhile, Rodolfo, Aldo's brother, had pursued a career as an actor before being called back into the family business. He opened the Milan store and eventually had a son, Maurizio, in 1948. When Rodolfo's wife Alessandra died suddenly, he became fiercely protective of Maurizio, almost obsessively so. He saw his son as the future of the family, the one who would carry the Gucci name into the next century with dignity. In 1970, at a party in Milan, Maurizio met a young woman named Patrizia Martinelli. Born poor and never knowing her biological father, Patrizia's life changed when her mother married Ferdinando Reggiani, a wealthy entrepreneur who adopted her. Suddenly, Patrizia had access to Milan's social circles, though she was never fully accepted by the old money elite. She was hungry for more, for status, for the kind of recognition that came with being part of a dynasty. When Maurizio approached her at that party, allegedly struck by her resemblance to Elizabeth Taylor, Patrizia saw opportunity. Maurizio fell madly in love. Rodolfo, however, saw disaster. He recognized Patrizia for what she was, an opportunist who saw his son as a meal ticket. He tried to forbid the marriage, even threatening to disinherit Maurizio. But young love, or whatever this was, prevailed. They married in 1972. Patrizia threw herself into the role of Lady Gucci with theatrical intensity. She loved the attention, the whispers when she entered rooms, the envious glances from women who had once looked down on her. She and Maurizio had 2 daughters, Alessandra in 1977 and Allegra in 1981. From the outside, they looked like the perfect family, beautiful, wealthy, untouchable. But by the 1980s, the Gucci empire was imploding. The family members, each controlling various percentages of shares, had turned on one another like wolves. Aldo and his sons were in constant conflict. Paolo, feeling undervalued and desperate to prove himself, launched his own Paolo Gucci brand, violating family agreements. The resulting lawsuits were vicious and public, airing the family's dirty secrets for the world to see. Then Paolo made a decision that would haunt him forever. In a fit of rage and betrayal, he exposed his father's tax evasion to American authorities. The investigation revealed that Aldo had been running fraudulent schemes, funneling $11 million out of the company through foreign accounts and evading $7 million more in taxes. In 1986, at the age of 81, Aldo Gucci, the man who had built the empire, was sentenced to a year in prison. The humiliation was complete. The architect of Gucci's global success spent his final years disgraced, his relationship with Paolo destroyed beyond repair. When Aldo died in 1990, Maurizio stood over his uncle's coffin in a Roman church and repeated to himself, "There is only one Gucci. There is only one Gucci." It wasn't grief, it was victory. Maurizio, now in control after his father Rodolfo's death in 1983, had inherited 50% of the company. He immediately launched a legal war against Aldo for the remaining shares. Aldo accused him of forging Rodolfo's signature to avoid inheritance taxes, and Maurizio was initially found guilty. But he was later acquitted, and by the late 80s he had consolidated power. Maurizio's vision for Gucci was radical. He wanted to scale back the mass-market licensing deals that had diluted the brand and return to exclusive high-end luxury. He hired Dawn Mello, a visionary executive who shared his goals. Together, they began restructuring the company, closing unprofitable divisions, terminating cheap licensing agreements, and refocusing on quality. But vision without execution is just fantasy. Maurizio was a terrible manager. The company started hemorrhaging money, $30 million annually by the early 1990s. His financial backers at Investcorp, a Bahrain-based investment firm he had partnered with in 1989, watched in horror as the man they thought was a savvy businessman revealed himself to be an impractical dreamer. In 1993, they forced Maurizio to sell his remaining shares for $170 million. The Gucci family's 70-year association with the company ended not with triumph, but with failure. The dynasty that had survived poverty, world wars, family feuds, and tax scandals finally collapsed under the weight of incompetence. But Maurizio's troubles were just beginning. His marriage to Patrizia had been deteriorating for years. In 1985, he told her he was taking a business trip to Florence and sent a friend the next day to inform her that he wasn't coming back. The marriage was over. Patrizia was blindsided, humiliated, and enraged. For 9 years, the divorce dragged through courts. Maurizio moved on, dating an American model named Cherie McLaughlin Loud, then rekindling a relationship with Paola Franchi, a childhood friend who had attended his wedding to Patrizia. The divorce was finalized in 1994, with Maurizio agreeing to pay Patrizia an annual alimony of $1.47 million. By law, she could no longer use the Gucci name. Now, if you're finding this story gripping, make sure to subscribe to the channel. There are so many incredible stories about powerful families, empires built and destroyed, secrets that shaped history. Don't miss out on the next one. Patrizia watched from the sidelines as Maurizio sold the company, severing her daughters from their heritage. The $400 million estate she had counted on was gone, replaced by alimony payments, and the bitter knowledge that she had been cast aside. When Maurizio began planning to marry Paola Franchi, Patrizia's rage reached a boiling point. If he remarried, her alimony would be cut in half to $860,000 a year. Everything she had built her identity around, the Gucci name, the status, the wealth, was slipping away. On the morning of March 27, 1995, Maurizio Gucci walked up the steps to his private office building at Via Palestro 20 in Milan. It was 8:30 in the morning. The street was quiet. A man approached him, pulled out a gun, and fired 4 times. Maurizio collapsed on the marble steps, blood pooling beneath him. He was 46 years old. The assassination shocked Italy and the fashion world. This wasn't a random mugging or a business dispute gone wrong. This was an execution, planned and deliberate. For 2 years, investigators searched for answers, following dead-end leads and false tips. Then in January 1997, an anonymous call to police changed everything. The investigation led directly to Patrizia Reggiani. The evidence was damning. She had hired a hitman through her confidante and psychic advisor, Giuseppina Auriemma, known as Pina. The prosecution argued that Patrizia's motive was clear: jealousy, resentment, and greed. She wanted control of the Gucci estate and couldn't bear the thought of Maurizio marrying Paola, which would cut her income. In 1998, Patrizia was convicted and sentenced to 29 years in prison. The media dubbed her the Black Widow. During the trial, she showed no remorse, no emotion. When asked years later why she didn't just hire a hitman to kill herself, she responded, "I didn't want to miss my daughters growing up." Alessandra and Allegra were 20 and 16 when their mother was arrested. They lost both parents within 2 years, one to murder, one to prison. But they were also extraordinarily wealthy. They inherited their father's estate, valued at approximately $400 million, including 3 residences in New York, St. Moritz and Milan, and 2 yachts, the Creole and the Aval. For years, the daughters defended their mother. They claimed a brain tumor Patrizia had removed in 1992 had affected her personality and ability to reason. Allegra even studied law at Milan University specifically to help with her mother's case. They campaigned for a retrial, visited her in prison, stood by her when the entire world saw her as a monster. But something shifted after Patrizia was released in 2016, having served 18 years for good behavior. The daughters discovered that their mother still expected to be supported, still demanded access to the alimony payments from Maurizio's estate. In 2017, Alessandra and Allegra tried to legally prevent Patrizia from receiving the annuity. The case went to Italy's Supreme Court, and Patrizia won. The court ruled that Maurizio had signed documents agreeing to pay her for the rest of her life. After this legal battle, the relationship between mother and daughters shattered completely. Patrizia, speaking to journalists, claimed her daughters had abandoned her, cut off her financial support, and refused to let her meet her grandchildren. "They don't understand me," she said, her voice dripping with bitterness. "I have nothing." Meanwhile, Alessandra and Allegra retreated into privacy. They both married and moved to Switzerland, one of the few places in the world where extreme wealth can buy true anonymity. Alessandra briefly ventured into fashion, launching a handbag line called AG Limited Editions in 2008. She created 99 bags total, only 11 in each style, and named 3 designs after her father Maurizio, her grandfather Rodolfo, and herself. It was a tribute, perhaps an attempt to reclaim a heritage that had been stolen by murder and scandal. Allegra focused on keeping her father's spirit alive through his boats. In an interview with Classic Boat magazine in 2013, she spoke about racing the Creole, a massive 689-ton staysail schooner built in 1927 and considered the largest wooden sailing yacht in the world. "My father would be so happy to see the boats now, and how his philosophy of them is continuing," she said. There was pride in her voice, and maybe something else, relief. The boats didn't carry the weight of murder and betrayal. They were just beautiful, elegant, and hers. The daughters are believed to be worth $400 million today. They have children of their own now, families they keep carefully shielded from the media. They've never spoken publicly about the pain of losing their father or watching their mother be convicted of his murder. That silence is its own kind of armor. Back in Rome, the grand Gucci villas in Camilluccia, the estate Aldo built with such pride, sat empty for years. The heirs tried to sell the properties in 2023 for €15 million, roughly $16 million. The real estate listings described the main villa's 15 bedrooms and 20 bathrooms, the English and Tuscan architectural blend, the 2.5 acres of manicured grounds. But what they couldn't describe was the weight of history those walls carried. This was where Aldo hosted glittering parties, where movie stars and politicians mingled under crystal chandeliers. This was where the Gucci family celebrated their triumphs and hid their darkest secrets. The second villa, built in the 1960s, could be converted into apartments or used as a guest house, the listing suggested. But who wants to live in a monument to a family that destroyed itself from within? The properties represent everything the Gucci dynasty achieved and lost. They're beautiful, historic, valuable, but they're also haunted by the ghosts of ambition unchecked, love corrupted by greed, and a legacy squandered by people who believed their name made them invincible. Today, the Gucci brand is worth an estimated $60 billion, owned by Kering, a French luxury conglomerate. The family has no connection to the company anymore. Tom Ford's revolutionary redesigns in the 1990s saved the brand from bankruptcy, transforming it into the fashion powerhouse it is today. The double G logo, once nearly worthless, is now one of the most recognized symbols in the world. But the Gucci family itself? They're scattered, divided, living in the shadows of the empire they once controlled. Roberto, one of Aldo's sons who was never depicted in the film House of Gucci, runs a small leather goods business in Florence. He once said, "The Guccis were a great family. I ask forgiveness for all their mistakes." Who doesn't make mistakes? It's a generous sentiment from a man who watched his family tear itself apart over money and power. The story of the Gucci dynasty is not unique. History is littered with families who built empires only to watch them crumble under the weight of ego, betrayal, and greed. The Medicis, the Rockefellers, the Kennedys, they all faced similar struggles. Power attracts the ambitious and the ruthless, and blood ties are no guarantee of loyalty. What makes the Gucci story so compelling is its operatic scale. It has everything: rags to riches triumph, forbidden love, betrayal, murder, and a cast of characters so larger than life, they seem fictional. Guccio, the poor boy who built an empire from nothing. Aldo, the visionary who took his father's shop and turned it into a global brand. Maurizio, the dreamer who inherited everything and lost it all. Patrizia, the social climber who would rather see her husband dead than lose her status. And Alessandra and Allegra, two young women who inherited not just wealth but trauma, forever marked by their parents' choices. The forgotten estate in Camilluccia stands as a testament to what the Gucci family achieved and what they destroyed. It's a beautiful ruin, a place where laughter once echoed through marble halls but now sits silent, waiting for new owners who will never fully understand the weight of its history. The swimming pools are still there, the garden still manicured by caretakers who never met Aldo or his sons. The architecture remains stunning, a blend of English elegance and Tuscan warmth, but the spirit of the place is gone. The dynasty is over. The name continues on handbags and runway shows, but the family that created it has been exiled from their own legacy. They are the forgotten heirs of the fashion king, living quiet lives in Switzerland, sailing yachts that carry their father's memory, creating limited edition handbags that no one really needs, but everyone wants because of the name. When Alessandra and Allegra look back on their childhood, what do they remember? The luxury, certainly. The private jets and exotic vacations, the feeling of being special, chosen, part of something extraordinary. But also the arguments, the lawsuits, the way their parents' marriage disintegrated into cold silence and then into violence. They remember being 20 and 16 when their mother was arrested, the flash of cameras, the headlines, the way everyone looked at them with a mixture of pity and fascination. They carry their father's legacy, not in shares of the company or positions on the board, but in the way they live their lives, quietly, privately, away from the spotlight that consumed their family. They understand, perhaps better than anyone, that the Gucci name is both a blessing and a curse. It opens doors and destroys lives in equal measure. The fashion world has moved on. New dynasties are being built, new scandals are brewing. But the story of the Gucci family endures because it speaks to something universal: the price of ambition, the fragility of family, and the way wealth can corrupt even the deepest bonds. Guccio Gucci started with nothing and built an empire. His descendants inherited everything and lost it all. That's not just a family story. That's a warning. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of fashion's most dramatic dynasties, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. History is full of incredible stories like this. Families and empires that rose to unimaginable heights, only to fall in spectacular fashion. Stay tuned for more. And remember, sometimes the most expensive things in life aren't measured in money.